Okay, in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to create a scatter plot in Microsoft Excel, and then this will be a starting point to answer your question, and then if you have further questions, if there's things that don't go unanswered, then we'll address it from that point as well. So first of all, I have my data here, and this is data I just made up. It's not the same as what's in the homework. I have my X values and my Y values, and I think you have to do it this way. There's probably a way to put all the X's in a row and all the Y's in a row, but I'm most familiar doing this with all the X's in a column and the Y's in the column. So to get the plot, one trick is to know that it's called a scatter plot. If you try to do a column graph or something of that sort, then you're not going to get what you're looking for. You highlight both the X and the Y values, click on Insert, and then go over to Scatter. And we're just doing a scatter plot. Okay, so once I do that, what it does is it creates a graph and it goes ahead and plots those points for me. Now, I think that addresses your first question, but your second question that's going to come later is a little bit more involved. And that is, how do I graph a formula in Microsoft Excel? And it turns out that that is not very easy to do, but it can be done. Okay, so I'm going to graph here 4 times e to the 0.1x. Alright, now that's an exponential function, so we know what the shape of it's going to look like. Now it turns out we cannot get Excel to directly graph that formula. Instead, what you have to do is the same thing that your calculator does, your graphing calculator does. You just have to do the nitty-gritty work. And that is, you have to define a bunch of x values. And I'm going to start at 0.01, and then I'm going to increment by hundredths. So let's see, this cell will be E3 plus 0.01, so that'll be 0.02. And then I'm going to fill that down for a while. And let's see, now I have it to 12.34. You can go down as far as you want to. Okay. So that's called a mesh of x values. It's a bunch of x values we've cut up. Our interval in this case is from 1 to 12 point something, or 0 to 12 point something. We've cut it up into little bitty chunks and taken a little point on each of those chunks. And then here I'm going to evaluate this function at that x value. So this would be equals 4 times. Now this is actually going to end up giving me an error, but I'm going to go ahead and enter it in anyway. And let's see, we don't have x, we have e to the cell E3. Okay, I press enter. It gives me an error because it doesn't like that e to the power of. In particular, I don't think it knows what e is. What you want to do instead is use exp, and that returns e raised to the power of a given number. So exp replaces the e caret. Right? And I press enter, and that gives me 4 times e to the power of 0.01 times 0.1. Okay, so as we would expect, it's pretty close to 4 because that power is pretty close to 0. So e to that power is pretty close to 1. Now if I fill that formula down, let's see. Okay, and that creates a bunch of data for me. Right, it creates a bunch of pairs of x values. Let's see how many, about 1,200 pairs of x values. Now if I want to plot those on this same graph, and by the way, this formula does not match up with these data points, then what I will do is I'm going to right click over here in the white space beside the graph, but still in that graph box. Go to select data. Okay. Now the series 1, that is talking about the data that we've already graphed. Okay. What we're going to do is add a new series. So the series names, let's see, I'll call this the exponential model. And the x values, I can highlight those here. And then for the y values, I can highlight them. Let me go back to the spreadsheet to do that. Okay, and we saw it took just a little bit of time there to get that done. Now hopefully it didn't put the graph down here. Hopefully it put it up here. Yes, it put it up here. Okay, so there's a little bit of work to do. First of all, that line is pretty thick, so I would right click on it, do Format Data Series. Let's see, marker options, built in. And you can change the color if you'd like to. That's in here somewhere as well. I think maybe it isn't. Anyway, I'm sure there's different ways you can change a lot of these options. I don't care about color. It'd be better not to have a graph of that size. But this is how you would go about graphing an actual function. It turns out you just graph a bunch of points, but you graph so many points that you see the smooth curve in your graph. Okay, and then for series 1, let's see. I'd want to change that name to, say, raw data or so. And I think, yeah, we'll go here. Let's edit, and we have to do series name, so I'll call that the raw data. Okay, so I'll leave it up to you. You might find that it'll be easier for you to just draw this by hand, use your graphing calculator, or you're welcome to go ahead and use this method to do it in Microsoft Excel. Again, I intend this video to be a starting point. I know it will necessarily and probably will not answer all of your questions, so please do let me know of any questions that arise, and we can either talk over the phone, discuss it over email, or I can make a new video to help you out. So good luck.